What if I told you the biggest star of 2026 spent the last 3 years clearing tables in a Scottish restaurant while the music industry declared him dead? Our top story tonight follows a narrative that defies every logic of the modern entertainment machine. In a world where viral fame usually fades in seconds, one man has managed to claw his way back from the graveyard of reality television. Matty Juniosa, a name once whispered as a what could have been during the 2020 Idol Philippines season, has officially shattered the ceiling of global competition. When he stepped onto the London stage earlier this year, he didn't lead with a list of accolades. Instead, he led with a confession that stunned the judges. He was a singing competition loser. It was a bold, almost self-deprecating admission that set the stage for one of the most high-stakes performances in the history of the franchise. While the audience saw a man seeking a second chance, our investigation reveals that this was less of a plea for help and more of a tactical strike against an industry that had written him off years ago. The silence in the room was palpable as he prepared to sing, but the sound that followed wasn't just music. It was a declaration of war against the labels that had previously shut their doors on him. For the first time, we are looking at the mechanics of a comeback that shouldn't have been possible. How does an artist go from a failed finalist in Manila to the most talked-about talent in the United Kingdom within a single television cycle? Tonight, we break down the calculated rise of a man who refused to stay in the shadow of his own past failures. Behind the polished lights of the 2026 stage lies a period of total industry abandonment that nearly ended Matty's career forever. To understand the magnitude of this rise, we have to look at the wreckage left behind in 2020. Following his stint on Idol Philippines, Matty was positioned as a rising star, but the reality was far grimmer. Despite the talent, the infrastructure around him began to crumble. Sources close to the local scene suggest that the finalist label became a curse rather than a blessing. He was trapped in a cycle of guest appearances and short-lived musical groups that failed to gain traction. Then suddenly the trail went cold. For nearly 3 years, the man who was supposed to be the next big thing disappeared from the public eye entirely. Rumors circulated about personal struggles and total burnout, but the truth was far more strategic. Our reporting indicates that Matty recognized early on that his pop idol persona was being commodified in a way that left him with zero creative control. The industry had categorized him as a niche performer with a limited shelf life. In a move that shocked his remaining fanbase, he packed his bags and left the country, leaving behind a failed career to start over in a place where no one knew his name. This wasn't just a vacation, it was a total professional reset. While critics in Manila were calling him a has-been, Matty was already laying the groundwork for a transformation that would eventually make those same critics look foolish. The Manila blackout wasn't a sign of defeat. It was the beginning of a long-term plan to return on his own terms, far away from the gatekeepers who had originally tried to limit his potential. While his fans thought he was giving up, Matty was secretly training in the heart of Scotland under an assumed anonymity. The missing years of Matty Juniosa's life were spent in the shadows of Glasgow, Scotland, a far cry from the tropical heat of his homeland. For the first time, we can confirm that the 2026 sensation was working a grueling double life. During the day, he was a part-time waiter, serving customers who had no idea they were being handled by a former national television finalist. At night, however, he was a student at the prestigious Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. This is where the rebellion truly began. Instead of sticking to the pop formulas that failed him in the past, he immersed himself in the world of musical theater and classical technique. He was deconstructing his voice, stripping away the commercial gloss to find a raw emotional power that the Philippine industry never allowed him to showcase. This period of his life was marked by extreme financial pressure and the psychological weight of starting from zero. Imagine being a star in one country and a nameless servant in another. Yet it was this exact friction that forged the performer we see today. Those who knew him in Glasgow described a man possessed by a singular goal. He wasn't just trying to get famous again, he was trying to become undeniable. By the time he decided to audition for the 2026 season of Britain's Got Talent, he was no longer a pop singer. He was a seasoned vocal technician with a backstory that could move mountains. The waiter narrative isn't just a PR stunt for the show. It is the fundamental truth of how a man had to lose everything to find the voice that would eventually conquer the world. The 2026 audition wasn't just a win. It triggered an unprecedented golden protocol that has the entire production in an uproar. When Matty performed Purple Rain in London, it triggered a chain reaction that the show's producers were not prepared for. Simon Cowell, a man known for his cynical view of competition veterans, didn't just give a standing ovation. He reportedly suggested a two-buzzer rule specifically for Juniosa. This comment ignited a firestorm of media coverage. Never before in the history of the franchise has a judge claimed that a performer was so superior that a single golden buzzer wasn't enough. This golden protocol effectively elevated Matty from a contestant to a phenomenon overnight. But as the footage went viral, the scrutiny intensified. Investigative reports began surfacing, questioning if the judges knew about his professional background all along. Was this a genuine moment of discovery or a highly orchestrated piece of television designed to create a 2026 superstar? Data shows that Matty's audition became the most-watched clip of the season within 48 hours, pulling in millions of views from both the UK and Southeast Asia. This cross-continental appeal created a massive power vacuum that Matty was more than happy to fill. However, the sheer speed of his ascent has led to internal tensions within the competition. Some sources claim that the special treatment afforded to Matty has alienated other contestants, creating a high-pressure environment behind the scenes. Whether the buzz was organic or manufactured, one thing is certain. The Golden Protocol ensured that no one would ever call Matty Juniosa a loser again without looking like they weren't paying attention to the stats. As the 2026 finals approach, allegations of a rigged season are reaching a fever pitch, threatening to overshadow Matty's performance. With every success comes a wave of resistance, and for Matty, that resistance has taken the form of intense online skepticism. As he secured his direct ticket to the 2026 finals, a vocal segment of the fanbase began to cry foul. The rigged accusations stem from his prior professional experience and his high-level training in Glasgow. Critics argue that the show is designed for undiscovered talent, not rebranded professionals who already have a significant social media following. These allegations have surfaced in forums and tabloid headlines, threatening to derail the momentum of his comeback. We've looked into the fine print of the competition guidelines, and while Matty hasn't broken any rules, the optics of his rapid progression are being debated by industry insiders. Some believe he is the victim of his own excellence, that he is simply too good for the show, leading people to assume the outcome is predetermined. This backlash has placed an enormous amount of pressure on his upcoming performances. If he wins, the rigged narrative will only grow louder. If he loses, it will be seen as a failure of the biggest hype machine in television history. There is no middle ground for Matty Juniosa in 2026. He is currently navigating a minefield of public opinion where his talent is being weaponized against him. The controversy has reached a point where even the judges have had to step in and defend their decisions, a move that rarely happens during the live rounds. The stakes for the final broadcast are no longer just about a trophy, they are about the legitimacy of the entire platform. In a move that has left vocal coaches baffled, Matty is reportedly planning a gender-defying vocal rebrand for the biggest night of his life. If you thought you knew what to expect from a Matty Juniosa performance, think again. Our insiders have caught wind of a radical shift in his rehearsal strategy for the 2026 finals. Matty is reportedly moving away from the high-register, diva style that made him famous, opting instead for a masculine and uncomfortably raw vocal profile. This isn't just a song choice change, it's a total rebrand of his artistic identity. He has hinted in recent interviews that he wants to move out of his range, to prove he isn't just a one-trick pony. This is a high-wire act that could either solidify his status as a musical genius or result in a catastrophic vocal failure on live television. Why would an artist at the peak of his fame risk everything on a style he's never publicly performed? The answer lies in his desire to shed the singing competition mold once and for all. He isn't looking to give a pretty performance, he's looking to give an unforgettable one. This pivot has his production team on edge, with some advisors reportedly begging him to stick to the soulful ballads that guaranteed him the golden buzzer. But Matty appears to be doubling down on this new direction, signaling that he is no longer interested in playing it safe. This identity shift is the ultimate test of his 2026 narrative. Is he an artist who can transcend genres, or is he overestimating his ability to reinvent himself under the harshest spotlight in the world? The risk is monumental, and the fallout from a failure would be permanent. While the UK watches the show, a hidden alliance in the Philippines is building a global voting bloc that could bypass traditional industry rules. What the UK audience doesn't see is the massive digital infrastructure being built behind the scenes in Southeast Asia. Matty isn't just a contestant, he is the leader of a global movement. A hidden alliance of fans and fellow artists, including major names like Sofia Laforteza from KATSUYE and Jessica Sanchez, have been coordinating a massive support campaign. This isn't just about liking a post, it's a sophisticated operation designed to ensure that Matty's global reach translates into tangible career longevity. By leveraging his Filipino roots and his newfound British platform, Matty is effectively creating a trans-global superstar model that doesn't rely on a single domestic market. This strategy is making major record labels nervous. Usually, a label controls where and how an artist is marketed, but Matty is doing it himself through direct fan engagement. He is proving that an independent artist can use a reality show as a springboard without becoming a puppet of the production. This Filipino-UK crossover is a blueprint for the future of the music business, and Matty is the guinea pig. If he succeeds, he will have created a path for thousands of other rejected artists to bypass their local gatekeepers and find success on a global scale. He is no longer just a singer, he is a case study in digital sovereignty and industry disruption. The 2026 season ends with one final question. Can you ever truly stop being a loser in the eyes of the people who saw you fall? As the curtain prepares to rise on the final chapter of this 2026 saga, we are left with a chilling realization. Matty Juniosa has already won, regardless of the final vote tally. He has turned a narrative of failure into a masterclass in professional resurrection. But the industry is a fickle beast. Even as he stands on the verge of total victory, there are those who will always see him as the perpetual finalist. The loser label he gave himself was a clever marketing hook, but it's also a shadow that might never fully disappear. Can an artist ever truly be free of their origin story, or is Matty destined to always be defined by the comeback rather than the music itself? As he takes the stage one last time, the pressure isn't just about hitting the notes, it's about erasing the last 6 years of doubt. He is fighting for a world where his talent isn't compared to his past mistakes, but viewed as a standalone force of nature. Whether he walks away with the title or not, the rise you didn't see coming has already happened. The waiter from Glasgow has disappeared, and in his place stands a man who has rewritten the rules of the game. Now the only person Matty Juniosa has to convince is himself. The world is already watching, and the verdict is almost in. Will he be remembered as the man who failed twice, or the man who refused to stop until he won? We will find out when the final buzzer sounds.